Starting a YouTube channel in 2026 and actually turning it into revenue is hard if you don't know how the game really works. You'll see the simplest videos pulling in thousands of views a day, while channels doing everything right can't crack 100, let alone make $1 from it. So you start wondering, did the algorithm change? Did AI slop start burying everyone? Or is my niche just too saturated to profit now? Here's the truth, I've seen the same patterns play out every single time. So I'm going to give you the 12 simple steps that I use to grow my clients' YouTube channels and turn that growth into actual sales, and how you can do it too. First thing we do before anything else is research our title and thumbnails so we can find high outlier videos already winning in similar niches. One of the most common questions I get from business owners or from anyone that's starting a YouTube channel is, should you be posting videos that you're passionate about? My answer is yes, you absolutely can, but it needs to be packaged in the right way. Since YouTube is populated with so many videos, it's hard to stand out, especially within 2026. And the easiest way to stand out is just having titles, thumbnails, and formats that are psychologically going to attract the right viewers. You have to remember that YouTube is a psychological game, and if you don't play the psychological game correctly, the algorithm is not going to reward you. Think about it this way. Anytime you went to the grocery store and you went to the checkout aisle, there's going to be magazines on the left-hand corner that catch your attention. Those newspaper companies understand how to title their magazines perfectly, which causes you to look at the news article and sometimes buy it. The same thing applies for YouTube thumbnails and titles. The thumbnail should hook your eye, and then the title should create a question. When comparing it to the grocery store, the thumbnail would be like the magazine, and the title would be the headline. And that's why I don't recommend that you just post something out of just pure passion, or you just slap together a video really quickly and post it. There's a science to all this, and that's why I'm going to be teaching you all these steps, starting with step 1, the title and thumbnail research. And before we get into the step, the other question I commonly get is, should you post more content? And my answer is yes, you should. The more videos you release, there's a higher likelihood that one of the videos is going to pop off. However, if you post the wrong types of videos and you don't put in the effort when it comes to doing the title and thumbnail research, your videos are not going to perform. But one thing you have to understand is that every video that you release has to be intentional. If you're trying to get views, then you have to create a top of funnel video that is meant to get more viewers into your page. If you want to do more education, then that's where the middle of funnel video comes in, where you're doing more course type of videos, where you're doing more teaching videos. That's another style of content. Another style is having more so of a bottom of funnel video where you're either interviewing, like let's say a client or a student, or having some sort of testimonial video, and that is going to drive sales. So each format within YouTube is going to have its own intention, and that's what's ultimately going to get you views or sales or the in-between. So it's really important as a beginner to just start off with getting titles and formats down correct. And that's what I'm going to be teaching you here. So let's get started. So when it comes to doing the title and thumbnail research, one of the most important things is that you understand the audience. To kind of show you guys a demonstration as to what I mean by audience, it's really understanding your avatar. So let's say you are doing real estate. The first thing you have to understand is what this person's age is, where they're from, what's their education level, and then any sort of other information that's going to be really important when it comes to understanding that person. But to keep things simple, let's just focus on the age. So let's say for the real estate niche, we're looking at people from the ages of 25 to 55. That's what we're going to be focusing on when it comes to finding an adjacent niche. And what an adjacent niche is, it's just basically any sort of niche that is very similar to the real estate niche. So if we're looking at real estate, we'd also look at other niches like storage facilities, buying businesses, vending machines, ATM businesses, and sometimes, believe it or not, even looking at the YouTube niche. The reason why we look at all these niches is because the age demographic is also between the ages of 25 to 55. And what this is going to help us do is find other titles and formats that are similar within these niches that we can replicate for the real estate niche. So if you're starting out, what I would recommend is that you go within the YouTube search and you look at different formats within your homepage. That's step number 1. On the YouTube homepage, my recommendations is that you guys go through the first videos and also scroll down to other videos and see what's within the algorithm. A lot of times you're going to see formats that you can replicate very easily. And one of the key things to look out for is for outlier scores. And the best way to find outlier scores is through tools like 1 of 10 or vidIQ. Just to show you an example of what this would look like. So this is the home page. As you scroll down, you're going to see a lot of formats that are replicatable. So this here is a high outlier score, as well as this one and this one, also this one. But sometimes one of the best things you can do, which is the next step, is to search up the niche within your search bar. So let's take one of the adjacent niches that I mentioned before, like storage facilities. The next thing I do is I go into filters and I sort by year. The reason why I do 1 year is because you don't want to get data that's from 3+ years ago. So to start off, this is a high outlier score here. This has a 14x outlier score according to 1 of 10. And then this was also posted 4 days ago. So let's click on this video and check out some of her details. One of the first things I check when I click on a video is just making sure that the viewers are actually legit, because a lot of times YouTube channels will buy subscribers and viewers and also comments. So with this 1 of 10 tool, I can actually check and see how these views are progressing. Usually if you see a massive spike in the beginning, that's a video that you shouldn't really pay attention to, because most likely they bought those views. The next thing I check is the comments, and you'll see within the comments, there's a lot of constructive criticism from the viewers. Also, there's a lot of suggestions. It's also going to give you a better idea if these viewers are actually real people. If this is a video format that I actually want to take note of, what I usually do is I just press share, copy this video, and then I paste it into a spreadsheet. To make the research process just a little bit easier, have a spreadsheet in place where you can track all your views, what your outlier score is, the upload date, as well as some notes that you have, the niche, the video title, and then collect a whole database of titles and thumbnail formats that you can replicate within other videos. Not only is this going to help you for your current videos right now, but also future videos. One of the next things I also do is I go into the suggested videos section of YouTube and I scroll down and I look for other formats. Once I find a video that I actually like, then I click on the video and then repeat the same exact process. So I would just copy this video, paste it into my spreadsheet. Then I would just put in the views, the outlier score, the upload date, what the niche is, what the video title is, and any other information. My recommendation when it comes to doing any sort of video topic, spend at least an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day, just finding different topics and then decide which video format you want to do. One other thing I want to add is that when you're doing your title and thumbnail research, you're going to see a lot of formats within the titles and the thumbnails that are very similar. Just to kind of show you an example of this, you're going to see like these 3 thumbnails and titles are very similar to each other, but the niches are all different. You can tell with the title, give me 7 minutes, become dangerously good. Give me 12 minutes and I'll make you dangerously good. Give me 13 minutes and I'll make you dangerously good. This tells me that the AI niche, the book niche, and also the poker niche can all use these title formats. So if this is a title format that you're interested in doing within your own niche, these types of indicators where you can see a pattern working within other niches is going to give you a better idea whether or not you should do this within your own. One recommendation that I have to anyone that is doing the research process, as you get a little bit more advanced, eventually build yourself an app that does the research for you. So this is an app that I built for myself and my team to do research for my clients. And as you can tell, we have all kinds of niches like the retirement niche, investing niche, taxes, YouTube growth, business, side hustle. So once you get a little bit more advanced with this, I highly recommend you build your own AI app for title and thumbnail research. And guys, if you want the whole strategy done for you, what I would recommend is you click the link below and book a call with our team. The second step is finding one inspiration video with a format we can rebuild in our own words and our own ideas. To find the inspiration video, all you have to do is just pull up the spreadsheet of the 20 different topics and then find one video that you really like. What you could also do is just go into your YouTube search up the video that you want to look at, and then just look at a few of them. Just look at the first 30 seconds, maybe 1 minute, and then decide which one you want to replicate. What I usually do is I just watch maybe like the first 30 seconds to a minute, and then skip through the whole video and just take some mental notes. The whole goal with this step is to just get some inspiration as to how to structure the hook and also the body of the video. One really cool trick you can use within YouTube is the Gemini feature. So let's go into a YouTube video and select the Gemini feature. Click on the 3 dots and then press ask. YouTube's going to pull up the Gemini feature where you can summarize a video, you can recommend a related video. There's other things that you can prompt within this chat. So if we were to press summarize a video, it's going to give you a really good idea as to what the video is about, what are some of the things that the video does, and other things. This is just a really good place to take any sort of notes. Also, one other feature that I want to show you is called the transcript feature. So when you press show transcript, it's going to show you exactly word for word what the video said. From here, my recommendation is that you copy like the first minute or so for the hook section and then copy and paste that into Claude. For our third step, we put together a rough draft by spitballing every idea we have, either on our own or in a meeting with our team. When you're spitballing ideas, one of the most important things you can do is just dump out every single idea that you have on a sheet of paper. Have some sort of document pulled up, whether that's a Google Doc or a Telegram or any sort of note-taking app that you have. Next, what I recommend you do in order is just bullet point exactly what you're going to talk about. What I usually do is I use some sort of AI voice software like Whisperflow or sometimes the voice memo app to jot down ideas. And if you're doing this with a team, highly recommend that within your Zoom app or your Google Meets app, you have some sort of Fireflies or some sort of note-taking app that's taking ideas as you're doing the call. The fourth step is taking all those rough ideas, feeding them into Claude, and building out the middle of the script. It's basically the frameworks that make up the body of your video. I highly recommend you guys use Claude for this step because Claude is going to usually get you the best results. For script writing, I'd recommend maybe using like a Sonnet. You don't have to always use Opus because Opus is going to use up a little bit more credits. But if you have the ability to use Opus or even Fable, highly recommend it because it's going to write you a higher quality script. But usually when you write the prompts in the right way, you're going to get a really good result. And the best way to write prompts is just being really clear with what you want out of the video. And one thing you'll notice about Claude is that sometimes it's not going to give you the best answers, or the way that it's going to word things is going to sound a little bit more like AI slop. So always double check what AI is saying. A lot of times it's going to sound kind of like how a robot would say things. It's going to use a lot more fancy words. Take what Claude is writing, put it into a document, rewrite it within your own words, and sometimes even telling Claude to simplify it within 8th grade language. It's going to make things a lot easier for the audience to understand because the more simple the language is, the more clear the concepts are. The next step is pasting in the inspiration video along with the notes that you took either with your team or with yourself. Once you paste it into Claude, tell Claude to just give you a rough draft as to how you would structure a script within your own niche. So if you're doing a real estate video as an example, what Claude would do is it would just take all the ideas that came from the note-taking session that you had either with yourself or with your team, and then turn it into a rough draft that kind of replicates the inspiration video that you put in. The next step is telling Claude to analyze the transcripts and create a rough draft of the middle section. So what I usually focus on first is not the hook, not the conclusion, not the call to action. I only focus on the bullet points first. The next step is that I tell Claude to analyze the transcripts and then create a rough draft of the middle portion of the script. And by the middle portion of the script, I mean this section where it's basically like the meat of the content. There's a very specific format that I follow with all my scripts that makes the script writing process a lot easier and a lot easier for you to look at. And also, if you're doing this for another client, it makes it easier for the client to read. What I do is a setup, tension, and payoff format. So essentially, the setup is just an intro to the first point. The tension is just any sort of bullet points that you want to mention within the video. This is where you get a little bit more specific. Just keep everything to one sentence each. That way it's easier for you to read. Then the payoff, like the setup, is just the ending section of the whole point. For the setup and payoff, I'd usually recommend making it like 1 or 2 sentences. That way you go directly into the point. To clarify like what the payoff is, the whole purpose of it is to make the transition a lot smoother onto the next point. As you can tell in this script, like this is one of my documents for one of my clients, you can tell this section is about underused tricks. So the point of the payoff is to transition smoothly into the conclusion in the CTA. And if you guys don't know what CTA, it just means call to action. One thing I do want to bring up is that the reason why we do bullet points with the attention section instead of doing it word for word is because bullet points tend to be a little bit more natural. We're trying to keep the video as conversational as possible. However, if you do want to do more so of a word for word format, that's completely okay. That's more so of a preference thing. I just think bullet points just look a lot better. And from an organization standpoint, when you're creating your doc for your script, just make sure to put everything section by section into different tabs within a Google document. That way, the whole script is not just one single document because it's just more so of a psychological thing. It's going to be a lot easier for you to read when everything is organized in pieces. And just to kind of show you guys like that I'm actually using this whole script writing process within my own video, this is how I do things. So I have the hook and intro first section, then I have step 1, step 2, step 3, and then all the way up to step 12. And I keep things very simple. That way it's just easier for me to look at. Fifth on the list is writing out the hook and the intro. And this is where the inspiration video from earlier comes back into play. For the hook and the intro, I just pull up my inspiration video, watch the first minute of it just to kind of get some like ideas as like what it says. And then I go into the description, copy the transcript, and then paste it within Claude. let me just show you like how that works. So this is an example YouTube video. I click on the more section of the description. I scroll down. I press show transcript. I scroll up and I press copy transcript, paste it here, rewrite this hook for the Airbnb topic that we are filming. Make sure it is almost exactly the same to the inspiration video I provided here. So I would let Claude process that. And then the next part of this is just pasting it into your Google Doc and rewriting it within your own words. Once you fix up the hook and write it within your own words, my recommendation is that when you're rewriting the hook, just keep it very simple, cut out any sort of stuff that is unnecessary to make things a little bit shorter, because you ideally want to keep it between 30 seconds and a minute. Sometimes I think 30 seconds is better because people just want to go directly into the point. And you'll notice sometimes Claude is going to put in just unnecessary words that are a little bit too complex for your audience. So just sometimes tell it, just rewrite this with an 8th grade language. Our 6th step is the conclusion, and its main job is sending people straight into your next video. Because by sending them to the next video, what it's going to signal to the algorithm is that people like watching your content, and it's going to recommend more people to watch your videos within the homepage or the suggested videos. Keep everything simple. I'd say make it about 30 seconds, no longer, maybe like just about a minute long. One thing I see a lot of creators do that is a big mistake with conclusions is that they use concluding language. So they'll use points like lastly or concluding or to wrap things up. And sometimes there are tone drops, which kind of signals to the viewer that the video is about to end and people click off. So to make things simple, all you have to do is just wrap up the last point you were talking about and then drive them to the next video. And all you have to do is just kind of point and just tell them like, watch this video here. For a 7th step, we figure out a good spot for the call to action, which is where the sales come from. When you create the call to action, make sure to add in free value and also make sure that it complements the video very well. What I usually do for most of my clients is I do some sort of free lead magnet. So whether that's like a calculator or a free document, and that goes directly into a simple sign up page. And when you're doing this, make sure that it's between like 30 seconds to 15 seconds, because if you make it any longer, you're going to see a dip within your retention curves. And that's something that you don't want. And just to show you what it looks like on a document where my script is located, I put the call to action very close to the intro. And to make things easy, I just put it within the payoff section, which is the concluding point of the step. And I put it on like the last line. So right here, it says, what I recommend most people do before they start is calculate their numbers first. There's a free calculator in the description you can use and you can run your own. So I just keep it very quick. That was probably like less than 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. One more thing that I want to mention in all this is that yes, call to actions are going to help you get more sales, and it's a great way to get leads. But also, this is one key trick that I think a lot of YouTube channels miss is most of your sales on YouTube are going to come from the link in the bio. So just to show you one channel where I've actually done this whole strategy and it really worked is for a client that is within the medical device sales space. So this is one of my clients right here, and most of his sales, believe it or not, come from this link right here. And I can actually prove it just by going through this dashboard, which is why it's so important for you guys to track all of your sales, because you can see where your clicks are coming from, where your leads are coming from in your sales. So I'm able to track where these leads are coming from. And in particular, anytime I release these videos, we've been able to get the most sales from the link in the bio. We do get videos that are directly attributed towards a video that we released. Like, for example, this video right here, where it's a tier list video, just going over like the different medical device sales jobs. I actually was able to get a sale on this like 2 days ago, just because someone watched the video, they clicked the link in the description, and then they booked a call, and one of the salespeople ended up closing him. And just to show you just the proof that this actually happened, this is the dashboard within like the last 7 days, and I can go into sales, and I'm able to check and see best paying medical device sales jobs ranked. And then this one, best paying medical device sales jobs ranked. So I can see that this video contributed to one of the sales, which led to a $4,000 sale. So going back to my point right here, yes, getting call to actions within your videos and also creating different lead magnets are going to lead you to get more sales, but always make sure to have a link in the bio, link in the description, pinned comments, and all of those different sources are going to lead you to get the sale that you want, because every part of YouTube is just a touch point. The more you touch the viewer with the right types of videos, they're going to eventually buy. Sometimes it's going to take viewers 7 videos to either book a call or buy one of your products. So it's really just a patience game. With the script finished, the 8th step is to shoot the video. When you're filming the video, make sure that you have enough energy, make sure that you have enough rest for the day, and most importantly, set it up in an environment that has a nice background. This is a really important step because a lot of people's backgrounds suck. And quite honestly, when your background sucks, it just creates a very unprofessional look for yourself. Another thing to keep in mind is that your camera quality is high, there's enough lighting in the room, and also you have a teleprompter in place. If you don't have a teleprompter, what I'd usually recommend you guys use is some sort of laptop in place that kind of acts as a teleprompter. That way, as you're reading the script, you look back at the camera and then just continue on with the bullet points. And the main point of the teleprompter is to do the hook section, the setup, the payoff, the call to action, and the conclusion. The rest of the script, you're just going to be using bullet points. And just remember that sometimes you don't need the most expensive camera equipment. All you really need is just high quality lighting and a high quality microphone, and you should be set. The 9th step is sending everything over to your video editor so they know exactly what to build. To keep things simple for my editing team, I just put everything within like a Notion document that just collects all the information needed. So I put in the script. I also send any sort of assets, whether that's screen recordings, any sort of documents, and any other information that they need. And to keep communication very simple with my team, what I do is I not only send them the whole scripts, but I also send them a Loom video just going over the script. So what I'll do is I'll open up like a Loom recording and go through the whole document myself, explaining in each section what kind of B-roll I want, what kind of sound effects I want, and any sort of other assets, whether that's putting in different screen shares, screenshots, or whatever it is. And as you can tell right here, I just basically go over every single section and then just highlight the things that I want. Sometimes I'll even put in comments into the document to make things a little bit more clear. One other thing that I also do with my editors is I add in an inspiration video. So this is basically just a YouTube link that just shows them kind of what direction we want to take the video. And when they see it, they just understand like what kind of graphics, what kind of visuals to do. For the 10th step, we hand the thumbnail designer what they need to build a click-worthy design. To communicate effectively with your thumbnail designers, the key thing is giving them inspiration thumbnails to look at. So this document right here, what I'll do within my script is I'll add in a separate tab for thumbnails, just showing them like what kind of direction we want to take it. One thing that's going to be very important with the thumbnail process is that you have professional photos, because if you don't have professional photos, it's only going to make it harder for your thumbnail designer to create a thumbnail that's going to perform. Make sure your thumbnails are very well lit, they look high quality, and most importantly, they had different expressions. One common misconception I see within YouTube is that you have to have some sort of crazy faces. Sometimes a neutral face is a lot more authentic than using some sort of crazy image of yourself. But overall, it's very important that you create 3 different images, not one, because if you do only one, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because you might as well use YouTube's features when it comes to testing thumbnails. Step 11 is putting all the pieces together, the finished edit, the thumbnail, and loading them into YouTube Studio. So this step is a little bit more technical because you have to use YouTube Studio, but keep it very simple. The only things you have to really focus on is the description. What timestamps do is it creates chapters within your video that makes it easier for people to watch, because sometimes busy people are not going to have enough time to watch a video, so they want to skip through. Next up is having info cards in place when you have call to actions, because info cards just creates a dropout right here that tells people to click, and it just makes the whole call to action process easier for people. So if they're more interested in what you do, they'll just click on that box and they'll go directly into the landing page. One thing I do want to mention is that with the info card, you have to be monetized. So if you're not monetized, you're not going to have this feature. This is what the info card section is going to look like at the bottom of your description. And the most important thing you can do if you don't have info cards is do a pinned comment with the call to action and the link. And also, like I mentioned before, having your link right here in the description up top. Step number 12 is setting up your tracking so you can see whether your videos are bringing in leads and sales. Tracking is really important to set up for your YouTube channel, especially when you're running a business, because you want to see how many clicks you get, how many calls, leads, sales, how much profit you made, how much revenue, That way you have very clear information to see which videos are actually converting. One of my favorite softwares to use is ClickMagick. I also do like using RevTrack. I've also heard that Hyros and Trackio are really good softwares to use for this. What's great about having tracking is it's going to give you very clear data to see how many leads your YouTube channel is producing. So you can communicate this to your team, but also it's going to help you create like a mental note to understand how well the YouTube channel is performing from a sales perspective. So when you set up your tracking, you're going to notice one really cool thing. You don't need a lot of subscribers. You also don't need a lot of viewers to get sales. This channel right here has about 10,200 subscribers. This is my medical device sales client, and he's getting views between 500 and 1,000 views on average. And that's not a lot considering the target audience that he's going for. But what it shows is that you don't need a lot of viewers to get sales. Like right here, you can see that we've gotten over 1,000 clicks. We've gotten over 150 calls, 232 leads, 18 sales, and then $82,000 profit just from releasing only 4 videos a week. So when you guys are releasing your YouTube videos, always keep the avatar in mind, but also make sure you set up tracking, because tracking is going to give you the most clear data to understand if your channel is actually profitable. And if you want to see exactly how I set up one of my clients' videos from start to finish, check out this 2-hour video where I create an entire video from scratch. I basically go over the whole thing, the research, the script, the thumbnail, all of it, so you can watch every one of those 12 steps in one sitting.